This is from the interview. And we could have added another 200 miles of wall and good territory for it, because it really does work, you know. Walls work. Walls and wheels. I would say, you know, a lot of, see what you have here, your tape recorder? Everything else is going to be obsolete in 6 months. But the two things that are never obsolete are walls and wheels.
They want him to be the president. They want him to be the president.
Nobody heard that.
He's the stupidest, grossest, most disgusting person in the country, and they want him to be the president.
Did you miss him?
Guys, I have missed it so much here. I was in exile in D.C. for 20 years. Now I'm in total exile in New York. New York City, which is where I live. Thank you all for coming out, and thank you to Tim for everything, and thank you to Sarah for, as we were in the back in the green room getting ready.
Managed a panel with Bill Kristol. That's what he's thanking me for. You know, I got to deal with Bill Kristol every Monday now. How about that? Monday morning, I wake up, I'm on a Zoom with Bill Kristol.
I have to deal with my best friend sitting next to me in the green room going, ooh, this guy on Twitter really hates you. And then just reading off mean tweets about me.
Oh, who was it?
Isaac Shore. He was quote tweeting you.
Isaac is a little bitch.
Yeah, great. All right, so I hope everybody had fun with the campus protests and the mass death in the Middle East, because now we're going to get dark. Time Magazine had a big profile. You just talked to Eric. What's some incredibly Italian name? What is it? Giorni.
He was on the podcast today. His name was Eric. I called him Eric.
Eric from Time Magazine.
It was right there on the document in front of me. Contressa something or other. He's an interesting fella. He kind of gives this like, I like to drink with Madison Cawthorn energy, which I think is why he... It's not a gay thing, so don't give me that face. It was like a party bro. He gives off party bro, kind of Trumpy party bro vibes. He's not that. He wrote a wonderful profile of Donald Trump, but I think that's how he got in. So it kind of caught me a little bit off guard when I saw him. I was expecting like a nerdy Time Magazine reporter, and I was like, whoa, this guy, he hangs out at the Duke lacrosse parties.
Too soon.
I don't think that's why he did it. I mean, maybe that guy's in, but Trump did that for one reason, which is he wanted the cover of Time Magazine. Because Donald Trump lives in 1984, where people are still like using magazines to like snort coke off of glass tables or something.
That doesn't really work.
I never did coke.
It's a practical matter.
Right. As we've discussed many times, I never did coke, so I don't know.
Me neither. I have a sense for kind of nostril size versus what a wound-up magazine size would be.
So this is a great piece, and because this is the world we live in today, Axios, the morning newsletter, item number 1 was Trump tells his dark vision for America's future, and it's all this stuff about the Gestapo and the immigrant detention camps, and then 3 down, it's campus protests have Democrats scared that they could lose in November. And I was just like, yes, of course, this is the world we live in, right? The one guy says he wants to become a dictator, and then a bunch of idiot college protesters who aren't even going to vote for Biden anyway are making trouble, and same. I love the people. The people are amazing. So I just want to put a quarter in the machine with both you guys and see what you thought of the things that our former president has to say about his vision for America and our future.
Here's the thing. I know that he just wanted that cover, and he got it. I don't know if you've seen the cover, but it is like an incredibly flattering picture of Donald Trump.
He looks kind of trim almost.
He does. He looks like a good. He looks like a good, but like mean, right? And like the piece starts out with Trump's biggest mistake. He was too nice in his last term. It's the biggest mistake. But he did it because he wanted that cover. But it was interesting to actually see him lay out, like the reporter actually talked to him about policy, and to have him lay out what he wanted to see his future term look like. And that is going to be, I wish he had done it on video. It felt very clear that he did that in print on purpose, because reading it versus seeing him say it, I think evokes different things for people. And if there were clips to pass around, it would be much more damaging because people don't read anymore, and I don't want to say that they don't read Time magazine, but like, I'm not sure that piece is something that's going to get broad reach. But we do have to have a conversation about what Trump 2.0 is going to look like. And right now, everything is so retrospective, right? He's in the courts, and we are literally living in 2016 around Stormy Daniels. That has been like litigated. And so the question of will he use the Department of Justice to bend to his will seems like a thing we should be talking about much more often.
Oh, here, I have policy specifics. In talking about giving funding, federal funding to local jurisdictions that decline to adopt his policies, Donald Trump says, there is a possibility that some won't want to participate, and they won't partake in the riches, which is a perfectly normal thing for a presidential candidate to say.
Yeah, especially when talking about
specifics.
extrajudicial deportations by local cops of immigrants. That's great.
Yeah, the riches. They won't. Yeah. Well, federal funds are not the riches. Who talks like this?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about the interview, if you read the whole thing, was an 83-minute read, which I enjoyed this morning in the hotel, and he's all over the fucking place. Like he doesn't. So this is why I'm not sure the video would have mattered. Like it doesn't matter. Like the Eric, God love him, like keeps being like, okay, sir. Well, what about the? He did keep calling him sir, which was just okay for me. But like, what about this? What about that? He's like, yeah, we'll look into that very strongly. And like, oh, we're considering this, and like, we'll look into that maybe someday. And he's like, it's a winding road that he's going down. And so, in a lot of ways, like the summary article is worse than what he said, unless you want cogency in someone running for president of the United States, then maybe that's bad in its own right. But like on the merits of it, because it's like the reporter said, well, this for the abortion thing, for example, the reporter's like, well, are you comfortable with states monitoring women's pregnancies? Trump's like, well, if states are going to do that, states are going to do what they're going to do, and states are going to, and he's like, well, are you comfortable with it? He's like, well, I'd have to be comfortable with it if our great states decide that's the best for their people, and so it's like, are states even considering monitoring pregnancies?
Well, this is a tip for reporters. A tip for reporters is to be like, do you think women should be murdered for having abortions? And let Trump be like, well, the states are going to decide that, because he clearly doesn't have an answer
beyond that.
beyond
Do we have tar and feathering for abortion doctors? Should we bring back the guillotine for abortion doctors in South Alabama? I don't. So like that part of it is, to me, the scariest part of the article. And so there's a lot of funny, stupid Trump shit. But the actual scariest part has nothing to do with the policies, because like the policies are incoherent. He doesn't know. He wants to be president again because he doesn't want to go to jail. And he knows he doesn't like immigrants. He wants to have deportation camps. So that part's scary. But all of the rest of it, like if you read his quotes, it's like trying to, kind of put shape into a fart. It's just like air. Like he's just blowing out air. So the concerning thing.
For example, I'm just going to
please, do a reading.
I'll be doing everything on a very legal basis, just as I built the wall. I built a tremendous wall, which gave us great numbers.
What numbers? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, the whole thing is like that. So it's very challenging to read. Okay, but there are a couple things. There are very few things that he's clear on. One of the things that he's very clear on is he does not want anyone to work for him that does not believe that the 2020 election was stolen, because that shows that they're too stupid to work for Donald Trump. So, like, his entry-level ante for working is, you need to pledge allegiance to this lie that I made up. Like, so just think about the type of people then that you're getting. The applicant pool,
only the best people.
Only the best people in the applicant pool. Like, you are only getting morons, true believers, or sociopaths. That's it. Like, those are the list of people that are coming in. And so, when you get to any of these implementation questions on any of these things, it's kind of like, the concerning part isn't even so much what Trump would want. It's that he's not going to have normies around him. He's going to have the people that he's going to have at DHS and DOJ and HHS and DHS are people that do want to advance these extreme anti-immigrant, policies, very restrictive abortion policies, and he's not going to give a fuck. He's not, and he's going to protect them. Frankly, he's going to pardon it, and he says, but he's going to pardon you if you execute these directional plans illegally.
Yeah, you make a good point on the distinction between policies versus, when I was thinking about policies, I was thinking like just what Trump intends to do. But he does this thing in the piece where he's like, I'm not going to be a dictator. I was joking. And it's like 2 paragraphs later, he's like, the Department of Justice is going to do exactly what I say, and if they don't, I'm going to fire people. And you're like, I understand that he can't define authoritarianism, but like the using the mechanisms of the law, like the DOJ has enormous power over the lives of daily Americans and over the ways, the idea that he would pardon all of the January 6th insurrectionists, which means
very clear on that.
Very clear on that. And so it's like, do a coup, I will protect you. Do a coup for me, and I'll protect you. And so that is the authoritarianism stuff. And so sometimes people think we're like overdoing it with authoritarianism. I used to kind of be like this, which is like, settle down. Settle down, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Who's always right? But the staffing incentives, this is what we're talking about. So if you combine all these things together, right? So the only people that are coming in are people that are adhering to the lie. All right, then of the bureaucrats in there, one of the key things they have is we're going to do Schedule F. We're going to fire anybody who isn't fully on board with the program. Okay, then on top of that, he's saying if anybody wants to, help me with my anti-democratic efforts in the DOJ, going after my enemies, if anybody wants to engage in extra-legal deportation, the extra-legal deportation regime, because the reporter kept being like, well, what about the 1968 immigration law that would make this illegal? He's like, I don't care, my people would just do it. So, but the thing is that they would feel good doing it because they know he's going to pardon them. Right, so if you just live in an environment where, okay, the specifics are kind of to be determined, but we know that the people in there will be total loyalists, that he's going to fire people that aren't loyalists, and that people who are in there who know that they might be fired if they show that they're not loyal, and then people can act extra legally and know that they'll be pardoned. That creates like just an environment and incentives for just total lawlessness in the next administration, where people can feel confident to do whatever they want, and where they've got little hair Stephen Millers at every agency. I mean, like, that's the scariest part about all this to me, not like the specific gotchas on monitoring the women's pregnancies, which is bad, but like also like not nobody's proposing it.
Also just like, look, the campus stuff, I mean, it's all over the news. That Time magazine got a half day's worth of bounce. We talked about it on TV, on Tapper, and then it was more or less gone. And that is, in terms of like the shape of our country going forward, that Time magazine piece is far more important than what is happening on college campuses, which is getting the wall-to-wall coverage.
I have a question for you, Sarah, about the people.
Sure. There are lots of them. They're not all the same. You can't hate all of them at once.
Just watch.
I know.
So why is it that the people care so much about campus protests in an Ivy League school or at the University of Chicago or Northwestern, these handful of elite schools, but don't care about this? Because this is not a kitchen table issue. This is not a thing that touches their lives.
This is actually a problem of elite media who are all obsessed with these campuses because they went there. Listen, most people in this country don't go to college. Like, the majority of people who are 18 to 21 are not in a four-year university. The majority of people who are in a four-year university are not at an elite, like Ivy League university or an elite university.
We can't all go to Kenya.
And the majority of the people on those campuses, okay, are not in the small percentage who are protesting. So we're talking about a fragment of people who are creating this amount of noise, who hate Joe Biden and are basically protesting him, right? This is a point that you make. And so it is like this infinitesimal number of people that is in no way representative of the Democratic Party, but people are obsessed with it because they're like, I went to Columbia. Ooh, what's happening at my alma mater? Bill, I don't know if you guys know this, he went to Harvard.
No, I always thought he went to school in Cambridge.
People love to talk about going to Harvard.
I thought he went to school in Cambridge.
So they all call each other up, to be like, oh, well, can you believe what's happening at Harvard? And those people all run, the elite institutions. And like all of the people who went to these elite institutions now are in charge of the elite institutions that cover all of it. And that is why this is happening.
The media sucks, sure. This is why we have a nice niche media outlet
Forgot
to hear
you were
people
over here.
I'm with you, but it is darker than that. I got to outflank you on the darkness and go towards JVL territory. The reality is that there's a big swath of people that are accessible to Donald Trump, that are potential Donald Trump voters, that don't care, that don't think that migrants that are coming into this country are people that they need to care about. Like, they just don't. I'm sorry. Like, they do not, when they hear that Donald Trump is, I know, but that's what I'm saying. When they see the campus protests, they're like, oh, little Johnny might be able to go to Columbia someday, and he's going to get spit on by these liberal freaks, or he's not getting into college because these freaks are getting into college, and these stupid progressives, and they're going to be the elites, they're going to control the world. So I'm worried. So I'm mad at them. I'm mad at those people, and they are. And for good reason. Sometimes they're being anti-Semitic, they have these gross signs up, and so it makes me mad. That's why people click on these articles and watch it. And then when there's another article that said, well, if Donald Trump comes back in, he's going to put Guatemalans in camps in South Texas. Like, well, whatever, that sounds bad, but I don't really care about that.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. I think the last part's true, but I don't think it's because people want, little Johnny to go to Columbia. They hate Columbia. They hate everybody at Columbia. They look at it and they think, these are the elites and I hate them, right? And so it is a way for them to confirm the idea that the America that they know caters to these people, and they hate that.
That's right.
The immigration thing is totally different. And when I read the Time magazine piece, and nobody's going to like this, but Trump is not going to get punished for rhetoric that is too harsh on immigration by voters. Because right now, and who was on that was, you were talking about Simon Rosenberg. When he was on your podcast, and then it was in your triad. I read it.
Our podcast?
Hey.
It's called the Bulwark podcast.
Sure. But you do a great job running it.
Thank you.
But Simon Rosenberg, what was my point now? I got distracted.
Immigration.
Yeah, Simon Rosenberg was talking about how abortion is such a high salience issue. I, again, think I think Democrats are going to need to make it a high salience issue. It never comes up, sorry to do this, drink if you had this on your bingo card, but like when I do focus groups, nobody starts out by saying, like, you're like, how are things going in the country? And almost nobody brings up abortion. They bring up inflation, they bring up crime, and they bring up immigration. And immigration is a much bigger issue and a much bigger liability for Democrats because they think Joe Biden is standing there doing nothing, and they don't think that Trump's actually going to do camps, right? Yeah. But they think he's going to do something, which is what people want. He did child
separation. I'm sorry. I'm not yelling at you. I'm going to yell. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at these people because this thing pisses me off so much. Like, these are human people. They get treated like shit. Okay, and it's going to be really bad. If you think of what he said in this thing, which is that we're going to let local police agencies, we're going to let local cops, we're going to let the National Guard go and do rogue deportations.
And the military.
Yeah, and military, go do rogue deportations. We're going to move 10 million people out of this country. Like, that is, like, what is happening in Colombia is going to just be like little minor league baseball compared to that shit. I mean, like, just imagine the execution of this, of what these cops are doing and what these military officials are doing in all these different jurisdictions, moving these people who have family, who have lives here. It's like, it is the most un-American proposal that any candidate in either party has put forth in our lifetimes. And people are just like, well, whatever. They're here illegally.
So
it really pisses me off.
My question on that, which Eric did not push on, is, okay, so where are you going to put these people? Right, so you have 11 million people in America illegally.
We're going to send them deep into Mexico. He did answer that. We're going to send them deep into Mexico, not just right across the border. We're sending them all the way through.
How are you going to do that? Because Mexico is a sovereign country, right? And is Mexico going to agree to take 10 million people? No, there is no answer for this. This is never going to happen because it is logistically impossible.
Also,
but we're going to pretend we're all going to play make-believe like it's a real thing, like the wall.
I think they're going to try.
Trump was president for 4 years. Every time he says, like, I'm going to do this thing, it's like, you could have done this thing, but you didn't do it because actually that's not a thing you can do. What he could do was child separation, which is what he did.
I think they're going to try. That little Hitler, that little fucking Santa Monica gobbles, he's been thinking about it. He's had 4 years to come up with a plan, okay, to get rid of the migrants, and they're going to do. They will do something. They're not going to do nothing.
Can we talk about political violence? Because this is another one of the things he was asked about.
Isn't that what we're talking about already?
No, we're not actually. This is like vigilantism and like, I mean, political violence aimed at destabilizing the government of these United States. because when asked about whether there would be a peaceful transfer of power after the election, Trump's response was, if we don't win, it depends. This is just a thing that American voters are willing to accept. And here's where I'm sorry. If this country votes for this asshole after he says it depends on whether or not we win, on whether or not there will be political violence, then America gets what it deserves. Right? I mean, it's not like he's doing it all in
Guys, we
secret.
live in America. What are you clapping for? Like, that's
No,
bad.
we live in
It's
Philadelphia.
bad for us. Yeah.
No, but I mean this seriously, though. It is not like it is a Manchurian candidate where he's hidden it all behind a mask. And, on the exterior, he's talking about he's just a freedom-loving guy who loves apple pie and all that. Like, he's just saying it all. He's just saying it out loud. And,
That's good.
Is it?
Yeah,
Is
we should know. Voters should know. And you know what, though? This is the thing. They don't know. Do you know that there was a...
They don't care.
Yeah, so I got it. There was an NPR poll.
They don't care?
Well, sort of.
Do they care?
They don't know-ish.
Well, you people are darker than me.
There was an NPR poll that came out and it asked who was going to be better for democracy. Guess who won?
RFK Jr. Family lineage.
Americans thought Trump was better on democracy, but you know why? It's because they didn't.
Bill Barr said, people are coming for your stoves.
Yeah.
They want to make you drive an electric car. That's the real threat to democracy, these electric cars.
Well, I do want to give Trump credit for something, though, because I think he understands something that, you know what? Hold on. I think
You do
Donald
not,
Trump,
under any circumstances, have to hand it to him.
I think he understands something that absolutely nobody in this room understood before 2016. He was asked, where is it? The reporter says, don't you see why many Americans see such a talk about dictatorship as contrary to our most cherished principles? And Trump says, quite the opposite. I think a lot of people like it. And I would be shocked if anybody in this room thought that might be true prior to 2016. And now he's revealed that it is absolutely true. Maybe it's not 47%, maybe it's only like 25% that are here for the autocracy, but some very large percentage of America looks at this and is like, when it says liberty or tyranny, well, it all depends on who gets to be the tyrant,
Yeah, that's true. I think that's
it. I expected more pushback. You're
Well,
supposed to say, no,
what do
JVL, I talked to the people, and they never say
Did
that
you
they
guys
want...
listen to the Secret podcast? Do people listen to the Secret pod between me and JVL? Yeah. So I asked JVL a question on the last Secret pod, because I mean this genuinely, and not even to pick a fight. Sometimes we are just picking fights. But why isn't Joe Biden winning by 20 points? So if you think about it, you're like, your default answer is because the people are idiots and should be shot into the sun.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sure. I can see this crowd's not going to be on my side on
Because
this.
their lives, well, it's because their lives were so much better in 2020. They're sitting in their homes, watching Netflix, binging.
Having their ivermectins.
Yeah, life was
Lurleen,
good.
I got us some more of the horse dewormer.
Life was good. Things are out of control now. Back when Trump
I
was
gave you
president,
guys the voice. You're welcome.
Back when Trump was president, Israel and Palestine was at peace then. Vladimir Putin. Nothing to worry about there back during the Trump era. So that makes sense.
Sure. I'm not here to defend that particular notion.
That's what I was told by the Washington Examiner.
What I'm asking you to do is ask yourself sincerely why Joe Biden isn't winning by 20 points. To ask what it is it just because of the people, just because they're idiots? Or is it because, right, we live in an extremely fragmented media environment where they don't hear any of this stuff. They're not gonna read this Time magazine piece. It was 82 minutes long. I had to set aside part of my day to do it. Most Americans.
reading the one sentence about monitoring women's pregnancies didn't take 83 minutes. They could read that. That'd be 10 seconds.
Sure, that's true. And if we had just a few news channels that people trusted and they were all talking about that, that would be fine. But that is not the world we live in. People do not have this information. And I think that people should be informed about their country and they should be trying to make informed choices. And I think ultimately, right now they are just burnt out. Like it's been a really hard many years. I don't know about you guys. You guys feeling tired? Yeah? Okay, so, and you're at a political show. Like you care. So, like you're so into politics. You like came out here in Philly to like hang out with us and talk about politics. You are weird. Like you are not normal, right? Like you're great, but you are not the way most people are. Most people are like living their lives, trying to raise their kids, they're watching sports, they're, trying to figure out how to, and I think that is not crazy for them to prioritize things like that and for them not to spend 82 minutes reading the Time magazine piece.
This is really hard for me.
Hold on, I think that they should look at Trump and be like, this is offensive and I don't want to do it, but I do think there should be some introspection on why half the country doesn't want what Democrats are offering.
I mean, our friend Josh Shapiro, he won by 15
Are
points.
we friends now with Josh Shapiro?
I think so. I mean, he was here earlier. We were hanging out.
I'm glad we're friends with him.
He won by 15 points, so maybe we should have just nominated him. I don't know. Bill Kristol looked like he was ready to kick old Joe Biden off the stage earlier in that comment. I don't know if you saw it. I could see it was simmering underneath. He was like, can we just get Josh Shapiro in there instead? So maybe he would win by more. But even still, I hear you, Sarah. I love humans. I love humanity. I really do. I love being among the people. I love talking to people. I'm not like JVL. But also, and I appreciate them, that they're complex. I like their complexities. I enjoy going to a Turning Point USA rally and talking to these little Nazis, okay? Like, sometimes they make me laugh, okay? Like, I do. There's something about them I like. But fundamentally, fuck them. It's just like really hard. It's really hard. Like why?
But most people aren't at a Turning Point rally. Most people aren't at a
though.
Turning Point rally. They're making
but all
snap
the people
decisions
voting
based
for
on
him.
the price of gas.
It's so obvious. He's so bad. And he's like,
I agree
read
with
one of
you.
those quotes again. Read another quote.
I don't know if you've read our magazine. I agree with you.
Read another quote.
Hold on. Again, this is from the interview. And we could have added another 200 miles of wall and good territory for it, because it really does work, Walls work. Walls and wheels. I would say, a lot of, see what you have here, your tape recorder? Everything else is going to be obsolete in 6 months. But the two things that are never obsolete are walls and wheels.
They want him to be the president. They want him to be the president.
Nobody heard that.
He's the stupidest, grossest, most disgusting person in the country, and they want him to be the president.
And they're watching a bunch of spoiled kids on college campuses burn things down.
Make the tofu girl on campus the president, I guess, then. Fine. I give you one thing if Trump was running against the girl who's like, bring us food, Columbia. Bring me food, and like, glory to the martyrs. If he was running, it was...
Mom, meatloaf.
She called it humanitarian aid.
If it was Trump against that girl, then I'd be like, okay, 50-50. I get it. 50-50. I'm going with the girl, but I would understand why it's a coin toss. But it's not. It's Trump against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They're fine. They're normal. They've made some mistakes, but they're fine.
Sure.
All right, before we move off of this, one more thing I want to say. I thought that what Time did with this piece was encouraging, because they did something that George Stephanopoulos did last week. Last week, George Stephanopoulos came out and said, we just can't do this.
I'm sorry for calling her a girl. I'm sorry. That young woman on Columbia's campus. I keep doing this. You're supposed to fix that for me.
I don't think it's wrong that you do it. I think it's fine.
I'm sorry.
I call you boy
Go
all the
ahead.
time.
All right.
I thought the
But you're
re-education
saying my
after
boy, though, so it's like a little different.
the re-education after your girls' basketball might have taken a little bit better, Timothy.
I know.
We have to get like little, electrodes on your nipples, and we shock you.
Young woman.
Guys, we were in the green room, and Tim was just like, can you see my nipples through the shirt? And I was like, yes, you can.
A little something for the ladies. Sorry, you were asking a question.
So George Stephanopoulos George Stephanopoulos comes out on the show and he's like, I'm sorry, we just can't do this anymore. And he did this with, who did he have on?
It was Sununu.
With Sununu, right? And he asked Sununu about the thing, and Sununu did a dodge. And Stephanopoulos just spent 9 minutes of airtime, which on television is like an hour and a half. And just kept going after and going after and going after. And he said he's going to do this. He's going to stop this both sides kabuki, like, oh, horse race. We're just all, tell us what you think, Bill Barr. And the timepiece did this too. The timepiece did not do any of the, and then Mr. Trump said this, and just let it go. It countered it constantly. It really exposed him in ways which I think even 7 years ago, like 2015, would have been viewed as like, pearl clutching, because how could they be so right? How could they be so activisty?
Do you think so? Because I actually think I think it's much worse than that now. I think everybody's like, oh, yeah, he says he's going to pardon all the January 6th coup people, and everyone's like, yeah, he keeps saying that, and we're all just like, okay, like I've heard him say it a bunch of times, and so like yes, he's countering it, but I think the extent to which people are deeply numb to this, like in 2016. The reason people covered everything is because everything that came out of his mouth was shocking, norm-breaking, law-breaking, and so like now for everybody to be like, yeah, I don't know, it's the porn star case. It's just, that's what we're doing. Like no one's like shocked by it in the way, like it's all worn off.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to send the military into cities to shoot people and round people up into camps like the
not,
Gestapo.
And we're not talking about it every day, every minute, all the time.
Fair. All right, well, I was going to ask whether or not it would be too much to hope for the rest of the media. Hello, New York Times. To
doesn't matter. Who
it doesn't matter.
Who cares what the New York Times
You're getting
writes?
very nihilist over here. But nothing matters.
Things
nothing
matter.
cares.
Just the New York Times doesn't matter. Like there are no persuadable voters reading the New York Times.
But they help with vibes.
Do they?
Yeah.
My vibes are down, so that makes sense.
All right, so here's what I want to do.
Vibes.
So back on April 20, this is like 3 months ago, I think, on the show, I was in a very dark Eeyore place. I was explaining why Trump was going to win.
You have to narrow down what show that was a little bit.
Right. All the shows.
And we should all be very, very alarmed. And you, possibly just having had a gummy, said, JVL, let's see. It's so early. Let's see where we are on April 24th.
I said April 20th, I think.
On April 20th. And if he's still down in the polls, then I'll worry.
420.
That was the guy.
Yeah.
Are you worried?
Do I look fucking worried? Yeah. I'm worried. I mean, it's better. It's gotten better. So it is true. The objective argument I was making at that time, which I think about even in the fall, it was a while ago, was that the fundamentals are going to move towards Joe Biden. It hasn't sunk in with people. It's going to be a two-person race. The Joe Biden's underperforming among people that are going to vote for him eventually. They're going to start coming back around. The polls will start evening out. That's happened, kind of. There's been a little bit of that.
Listen to how high his voice gets when he does that.
There's been a little bit of that happening. Not as much as I would have liked, but there's been a little bit of that happening. I think that's going to keep happening. I do think, back to the stupid Columbia kids, but I do think that's put a little bit of a pause on it, right? But if you look at the numbers, a big part of the Biden problem is people that voted for Biden, right, who are now on the sidelines. So I think that hopefully those people will come to their senses as they learn more about Donald Trump's plan for a idiocracy combination. No, I'm not like, curled up in a ball underneath my desk yet, but I'm pretty nervous.
Have I hit you with my 5 stages of grief theory?
Am I in bargaining now?
What?
Am I in bargaining? Is that what you're about to say?
Well, not you. I think the American people, right? Like there was denial, right? Like it can't be these guys. No way. And then there was bargaining, and I think bargaining is the third party stuff, right? Where it's like, but it'll be somebody else. Larry, there's gonna be this unity ticket that No Labels is gonna give us, and that's gonna win Delaware.
Yeah.
And then
JVL's still walking free, thank God. What would we have done had No Labels successfully jailed him for his, collusion?
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Yeah. And then there's depression. And I think depression is why Joe Biden has such low poll numbers. It's people being like, I hate this. And I think there's anger. And then I think eventually you get to what? Acceptance, right? Acceptance. And I think we're not at acceptance yet. I think people are kind of somewhere between anger and depression. And when they get to acceptance, and there's a lot of education done around RFK, like I do think they get to a point, because this is the thing about the double haters. This is the best news I have for people. I talk a lot about the double haters because that's the persuadable audience going into 2024. They don't actually hate Joe Biden. They actually hate Trump. They're just very annoyed Joe Biden is the candidate. He's old, they don't want him, they want somebody else, but they don't hate him. And so I think when you get to the choice part, and people are living in acceptance and they're facing their choices, I do think it's gonna be okay. But so I don't.
I have a new focus group request for you though,
yeah.
Because I'm not really worried about the double haters. I'm feeling okay about the double haters.
You're about like black, Hispanic
voters,
young people.
The group that I'm worried about are Democrats that only vote in presidential elections.
Yeah.
I want you to focus group people that say they're Democrats that did not vote in the midterms, that did not vote in special elections, that voted last time for Joe Biden, that don't like him. Are they going to vote for Joe Biden again? Those are the people that worry me the most right now, less than the double-hating swing voters.
I actually think that's true. And we do talk to those people. I mean, didn't you do the Young Progressives with me? Didn't we do that episode together?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
but
whatever.
I listened to that episode.
Well, when we did the youths, it was bad. They had all voted for Joe Biden, and a bunch of them weren't going to vote for Joe Biden. They were just going to stay home. But
I remember that because Joe Biden has been so terrible as a president.
They call him Genocide Joe and say that he's no different from Donald Trump.
Oh my God, I want to kill all these kids. Best president of our lifetimes.
Raise the voting age. We can bring back our old Republicanism. Our old Republicans are showing. Let's raise that voting age back up. Okay, 25.
This is why, if we're just going to do political analysis, I think that Georgia and Nevada are going to be real reaches ultimately this time. And North Carolina and Florida are not things. Nobody needs to get fancy. Yeah, it is.
We have a ceiling of 280 electoral votes.
No, I got you. Listen, it's going to be Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And you know what? It's just they're just filled with white people that are old white. I'm sorry, isn't that Pennsylvania?
There's some black people here in Pennsylvania.
I understand that, but like in terms of, it's not like Georgia where Joe Biden, like you lose, 10% of the black vote in Georgia, it's over. But Joe Biden is doing well with older white people that's why he does so much better with likely voters than registered voters. And so to win, he needs Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. And this little slice of Nebraska, too. That gets him there.
Boom,
okay?
271.
This is Hillary Clinton's blue wall strategy. Now, you may remember the blue wall crumbling.
So we definitely won't have any political violence if we win 271 to 267.
Yeah.
Thanks to the Nebraska 2 district. There will definitely not be any riots over that.
I'm going to take the win however I can get it this time around. I do think that in Arizona, and this is what I did. I was listening to your show. I was back there, but then I wasn't for part of it. And when you guys were talking about Arizona, the Dems bailed them out today. And I gotta say, you
wanted to keep the 1864 law
for 6 months? Yeah.
There were some listeners who were. I have to say, I think the most negative feedback we've ever received from a Next Level Take was when all three of us agreed that Katie Hobbs should enforce the 1864 abortion law. My inbox was like women. They're just like, what the fuck is your problem? She shouldn't. And I'm like, hey, the ladies in Arizona just gotta suck it up till November, okay? I'm sorry. This is for democracy. Democracy is at stake here. They did not like that take very much. I'm just warning you before you go there.
I do think it's something maybe we shouldn't say out loud, possibly. But like it is so annoying that Democrats, because they care about these women, that's not the annoying part, but because they care about these women, they govern, right? They decide, you said this, and this is JVL hat tip, but like they decide to govern, and Republicans get all this credit because two of them, came, one of whom was a woman, a senator in Arizona who talked about having like 3 very medically complicated pregnancies in which if that law was in place, like they might not have saved her life. And so I don't know. I think
That was the Republican or the
you
Democrat?
got a bunch of applause when you said Americans get to live with their choices. There's part of me that wanted them to let Republicans live with their choices in Arizona, put it on the ballot, and make sure that Joe Biden won that state in November.
I get that. I get that. But here's the thing. Like this is like people saying they want centrist politics and people getting bipartisanship and legislation passed. And then a president like Joe Biden, the greatest president of our lifetime, he does it and everyone's like, oh, can we get rid of this guy already? And
just as a fact check, you had a newsletter where you ranked the presidents recently, and Joe Biden was like 4th. So you're changing your ranking pretty dramatically to play to the crowd. I do want to bring that up.
Did I say he was 4th?
3rd or 4th?
I thought he was 2nd.
3rd. It was 3rd at best.
I mean, I think it's Saint and Ronnie, and then Joseph Robinette Biden.
HW,
I mean, for me, HW is pretty good. Anyway, listen, not the point. The point is that we say we want politicians to not play politics with stuff and to actually do things. And so the Democrats in Arizona did that. They did the thing that they thought was the best for the people, even though it would forfeit a political advantage. And if the voters of Arizona don't reward them for that, if they punish them for that and vote for Republicans instead, because they think, well, crisis averted, it all worked out, no harm, no foul, then what are we even doing? Right? Maybe this democracy thing doesn't work, and Trump is right, and people want the strong man, and everybody go home and drink hemlock.
I will say, just doing straight political analysis while we're being talked, I feel the best out of it. I feel pretty good about Pennsylvania and Arizona. So we really just got to win one more. I do feel pretty good about Arizona. And these people rejected, like Katie Hobbs was literally the worst candidate that I've ever seen live at any level. She was a horrific candidate. Every time I see her on TV now, I'm like, I get nervous for her. I get vicariously nervous. I was like, she looks so nervous. She was terrible. I went to an event with Katie Holmes. It was the day of the election. It was like 2 people there, okay? But like in Arizona, the people of Arizona were just like, too crazy. Sorry, Carrie. Just a little bit too crazy for us, okay? We voted for Doug Ducey. We even voted for Jan Brewer, but you're just a little too weird and crazy. Then they also have more people moving into the state from other places. A combination of things. I'm feeling pretty good about Arizona. The 1864 thing, I did freak people out. So that's good. That's good news. Problem is Michigan.
Michigan is the one that Big Gretch won by 10 points over.
I'm sorry, that's like moist. I think we have to retire Big Gretch. It's I don't like it. Okay, strange energy.
What is the energy that's strange about it?
I feel like it's like Big Bird. It could be an epithet. It's
People love Big Bird.
Do they?
Yeah.
I fucking hated Big Bird.
Really?
Yeah.
Such a weird thing to have a strong opinion about.
Such a strong opinion, you have no idea. As a kid,
Snuffy?
I hated him because, I'm sorry, 30 seconds on this. I swear, only 30 seconds. As a child, I was very serious because I already knew that I would always be right.
You're a barrel of laughs now.
And on Sesame Street, back then, Mr. Snuffleupagus was always just walking away whenever the adults showed up. And so Big Bird would be trying to tell the adults that there was this fantastical creature called Mr. Snuffleupagus, who was his friend. And he'd say, go to, Gordon, here, and then the Snuffleupagus would be gone. And I thought, this is the grown-ups who make this show treating us like children. Treating us like people who have imaginary friends and is teaching the adults to discount the real truth that we have to say. And that made me very, very angry.
What were we talking about?
Big Gretch.
Big Gretch.
Big Gretch.
Big Gretch.
Michigan.
You're feeling good about Michigan because of Big Gretch.
No, I'm feeling bad about Michigan.
Okay,
I'm talking the fact that Gretchen Whitmer won by 10 points over Tudor Dixon, and that it is now one of the states where Donald Trump is beating Joe Biden soundly in basically every single poll, and by
Fake
5
polls.
points. All of them? Maybe, but directionally, Michigan's nowhere, and it is not because Donald Trump is doing so much better with college-educated suburban voters. It is because there's the bottom is dropping out with these progressives.
You know, I was joking on the fake polls, but I do get listeners that this is another negative feedback I'm getting. Like, you guys listen to the polls too much. The corporate media polls, they're just doing it for the clicks. And I'm like, Quinnipiac is doing it for the clicks? Like, what clicks do the people of Quinnipiac? What do they want clicks for?
Like, what is that even?
It's
is
a
it
university.
a
It's
university?
like a random. Is it here? Is it Pennsylvania? Where is Quinnipiac? New York? I don't know. It's like a random D-tier university. What are they doing with the clicks?
All they do is polling. Oh.
Whoa, sorry. Excuse me. Did I say D? I meant B.
Here. We can't all get into Kenyan.
Yeah, that's right.
Whoa, sorry about that, Quinnipiac Quakers.
All right. So listen, we're going real long here.
Are we?
And we got to wrap this up. Yeah.
Why?
We are. We do.
They paid for this.
We do. I talk to people. They tell me when we have to be wrapped up by. You had wanted to do something fun. You said, JVL, you can't do all dark.
That's right.
You have to send them out with something fun.
I don't know if fun's the word I would use, but I do want to do veep stakes.
Okay. I was hoping a push-up competition.
Flash wins.
Yeah.
Hey, Flash. By the way, do you guys know JVL's kids are here? And this is why I have not been talking about butt stuff.
Thank you. All you have to do is say earmuffs. When you say earmuffs, you can say
Earmuffs, butt stuff.
So give us your Veep stakes. First, tell me who in your darkest heart of Schadenfreude you've gotten the most pleasure from watching blow up on the launch pad.
I mean, recency bias gives me Christy Nome, because that's been good. I do think, like, going on 5 days of explaining why you shot your dog and a goat, that's a tough news cycle. Katie Britt was fun, though.
Katie Britt.
It was good.
I mean, whenever I need a little pick-me-up, I just throw in a couple minutes of that, put my feet up, grab an IPA. It's like, this is nice. This
It's a lot of heavy breathing.
This is good stuff. That Katie Britt thing is good. That's going to last me a long time.
Now
Take
that
me
we have
through
some
the dark
distance
winter.
from it, that was a work, right?
Even worse than I thought.
She did it on purpose.
No. No, it was neither of them works. This whole theory, these people are morons, JVL. Like, this is not a four-dimensional chess. Like, Christy Nome got like a 740 on the SAT, okay? Like, she is not playing four-dimensional chess here. Like, she just is stupid. She thought that people would think that it made her seem tough if she talked about killing the dog. Like, she makes card calls, you know? We want a VP. She was worried. Like, Donald wants a strong VP, not a weak woman. You know, he wants somebody who's gonna skin a dog, assassinate him, shoot him between the eyes, rip his ears off. You know, that's what was going through her head. Not get me off. There are way better ways to get off Donald Trump's list in private, like than putting a dog assassination in your book. That's not what you would do if you were just trying to get off the list.
All right.
Also, she might think...
I was saying, she fucked Corey Lewandowski to get off the list.
Exactly. Also, she thinks she's going to be running in 2028. You know, so...
That's amazing to me.
I know.
Okay, so tell me, who is it going to be?
Hold on. Before we do that, me and Sarah have a talk about this backstage, because I have a confession to make about the VP list. I had a dark thought that went through my brain.
This is why I wanted to talk about it.
I had a dark thought that went through my brain. I whispered it in Sarah's ear earlier, and I was like, is this a bad thought? And she said, yes, it was. So I'm going to say it out here, which is, I'm worried that Donald Trump is going to win. And I think that we should hope for somebody that is a closet normie to be the VP. I think we want Mike Pence in there again. I just to cover our bases, somebody that's like younger and MAGA, and so if he gets that hamburger from heaven, we'd have a person in there that's not a fucking lunatic. Just in case, as like an emergency hatch. I think that we want a closet normie, like
So who is
Elise,
that?
like
Who
Elise,
is that?
like Elise.
He means Elise or he means Rubio?
Marco, I could see Marco fitting that.
Yeah, I know.
I wouldn't trust Elise, actually, to do the
Trump
Mike Pence
If
thing.
Trump was gone.
If Trump died, Elise would be horrible, and I would hate her, and I would have like a little Ouija board with her, and like everything. But like There's not going to be an Elise Stefanik autocracy, okay? Like, there's nobody out there in Luzerne County, like, wearing Elise hats and, like, threatening their local politicians. Like, if you're mean to Elise, I'm going to come to your house. I'm gonna swat you. Like, that's like, she doesn't engender that kind of loyalty, okay? She'll be bad, but she'd be within the normal acceptable bounds of badness, and then Josh Shapiro could beat her. A little bit of revenge from college, and that'd be fine.
Does J.D. Vance count as a closet normie? This is a real question.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow, you swerved.
Yes.
Okay,
tell
me why.
This is a dark
Convince
thought.
me.
Well, these people are terrible. J.D. Vance is terrible. I would never vote for J.D. Vance or Elise for anything ever in my life, and I would like kick him off the stage if I knew that I'd get away with it. Again, J.D. Vance, so J.D. Vance works with Tammy Baldwin on things. Like, he'd probably take us out of NATO. He'd do some bad things on foreign policy. He'd be pretty bad.
Of a big one.
Yeah, no, it'd be bad. It'd be bad, but it wouldn't be like, if Trump were to win and pick J.D. Vance, I'd still root for the hamburger from heaven. It'd be an upgrade. No?
So I agree it's an upgrade. But I think if we're
the question is, can you trust them to, while Trump is in office, if Trump does something extra constitutional?
Of course not.
Could you trust them to do
there's
the
nobody
Pence
that fits that bill. There's gonna be nobody that does that fights Trump within office. So here's an argument for Marco, though. Little Marco with the big ears. If it gets to the end, Marco's gonna see the big chair.
Yeah.
And maybe JD, and maybe Elise. That's why this is the argument for they're better than old crazies like Marsha Blackburn, because they'll see the big chair come in and they're like, maybe I could just give the orange fella a little shiv here right at the end.
So I agree with that. The reason that I see, this is a very Sarah take, actually. The one you're taking is sort of like, no, we should root for what would ultimately be best for the country, which is that somebody that we think is a secret normie who would do the right thing when push came to shove, not be an autocrat.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I'm rooting for, I think.
Yeah, and it's weird is that I'm like, no, I almost feel like you about this, which is like, Trump needs to give us MAGA good and hard in this election. I don't want
Tulsi.
Carrie
Lake.
Carrie Lake. I mean, I want him to follow his bliss, I think, on these. The problem with Marco Rubio, I said this on the Next Level, but I believe this deeply, is the number of establishment Republicans who would also see the ability to kick him off stage and think, this is how we get the party back. Like, this is how everything works. Like, you get Marco in there, and we're taking the Republican Party back, and they win the election because normie Republicans think Trump's old, and we get Rubio, and he was the future of the party, and all is right with the world.
Yeah, that's bad.
And it papers over everything that's going on. And I would rather them get voted down doing the thing they really are trying to do than hedge bets so that they can paper over the thing that they're really trying to do.
You're right.
Oh, you got convinced? Okay.
That was so easy. So listen, we've gone very long, and I'm getting mean looks from Catherine. Sorry, Catherine. But
You don't mind that we're going long, right?
I feel a little guilty for coming out and just being me. So I feel bad. We're all together.
So you're going to uplift it by talking about the state of Philadelphia sports.
Sarah, quick, name 3 Philadelphia sports teams. No, I'm kidding. No, what I want to do
The Phillies, the Flyers, the 76ers.
Hey!
Yeah.
Who's on top of City Hall?
William Penn.
Hey! Look at that.
What's the capital of Pennsylvania?
It's Harrisburg, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, so when we came in, I have 2 of my kids with me, and I thought about taking them someplace to get a picture of them with someplace. And this will mean nothing to either of you, but I thought, I should take them to the Frank Rizzo statue. I get a picture of them. Is that still there? Do they still have it over at City Hall? Frank Rizzo. You had no memory of Frank Rizzo? The most racist mayor in the history of America?
Oh, yeah, okay, no, don't know him.
Oh, I could tell you some stories.
I was thinking maybe we could take a picture in front of Woody's. That's my Philadelphia landmark. Sarah, you been to Woody's?
I have been to Woody's.
There you go.
I also, if we're just telling stories, when I was 22, I worked at a conservative think tank with Christine O'Donnell. I am not a witch.
Yay!
Yeah.
Woo!
In Delaware. And so I used to have to drive up here secretly, right? This was like in my Santorum days. I wouldn't go to Woody's, I would go to Sisters.
Ooh. This guy knows about
like
Sisters.
This guy, yeah. I think it's
He knows what's up.
Because every lesbian bar in this country is closed down now because lesbians are all like, I don't know, we're so mainstream that we just go to whatever
Eat
bar.
ice cream
Yeah,
we don't have time to go to bars. You just go home and watch Netflix with your children.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I spent a lot of time up here.
All right,
so
together.
this is what I want to do to send us out because it's all been very dark and Trump could win. And here, before I throw it, let me give you the actual darkest scenario. The darkest scenario is not Trump winning. The darkest scenario is Biden winning and Trump legally overturning the election through the machinations of various state legislatures and then with collusion from the courts. That's the darkest scenario. It would be better for Trump to win straight up than to have that.
I don't think that's very realistic, but I'll give you a more realistic one. So we've got Florida, but it's Georgia. Florida 2000, but it's Georgia this time.
There's hanging chads in Georgia.
Yeah, that's probably the darkest realistic scenario.
But I want so I do this for a living and I get fucking exhausted from it, and I imagine all of you do too. My William Wallace here. Tell them why they can't get exhausted.
Okay.
And that's going to send us home.
Before you do that, I thought JVL was going to uplift us with something at the end. Sarah's going to uplift us? You brought nothing? You didn't bring a single piece of positive material for the people? You came all the way down from New York City? You don't have one little ray of light, a silver lining, a light at the end of the tunnel? Nothing?
Joe Biden is the best president of our lifetimes.
For JVL, the light at the end of the tunnel is always an oncoming train. I'll say two things really quickly. One, he's not going to like this, but I'm going to do it anyway. The thing is that the bad times always they make heroes out of people. And so there ends up being just like these heroes among us, and then you get to meet them. And over here is Judge Ludig. He's going to be mad that I pointed him out.
And over here is Stormy Daniels. Stormy! Thank you. That was good, though, Judge Ludig. It's nice to see you.
The point is, always look at the people who showed up to do the right thing. And when you do that, it will make you feel better because more and more people are doing it. And I think in the next 6 months, we're going to see even more people doing it. If there's one thing you can do, people are always like, what can I do? And one of them is put pressure on people who haven't said something yet, or maybe have just leaked it behind the press. Like, we need to hear from Jim Mattis, and we need to hear from what's the chief of staff's name? John Kelly, and H.R. McMaster, and all the guys, and we should demand that their patriotism compel them to say what they saw and why Donald Trump would be so dangerous in the second term. And so I think that we have to expect. The one thing I'd never like is when we spend too much time setting our expectations so low that nobody feels like they have to rise to meet something. And so we've got to set our expectations of what these people should do high. And then the other thing is just, autocrats want you to get tired. That's in their playbook. What they want out of us, that's why you flood the zone with shit. It's why you make it impossible. It's why there's not one court case, right? There's 88, and then there's the civil cases, and then there's all the other little trails. That's why I had to set up a whole podcast with George Conway, just to track the legal news so I could understand politics here, because in everything Trump does, it is so much. And this is where I give the American people some leeway on, it's impossible to take it all in and live your life. And so that is on purpose, though. He's got one scandal, he wants to hit you with the next one. Why? So you can't keep up, so you get tired, so you won't fight back, so it feels too much, it's too much of a tidal wave. And so our job is to never get tired. It is to maintain the energy that we've had this whole time, the thing that built this community, really, and to make sure that we are always focused on fighting back and pushing for what's better, and like, that's our job. Do not get tired. Do not get tired.
Can I add one thing? Sarah's given that speech a lot, and it's true every time, but like, when you give it in San Francisco, it doesn't really matter that much. It matters a fucking lot here. Okay, so for all of you and your neighbors and your kids and the college kids in your life, like all of their actions here in Temple and Villanova, like it matters a lot. At Drexel, hell yeah, Drexel Dragons, O'Donnell Foyle's family, they matter.
Remember that.
Hell yeah. And so anyway, you guys matter a lot, so take that seriously.
We love you.
We do. Guys, thank you for coming out. This was amazing. Thank you, fam.